Red Ray Gun Limited presents
The Benji and Nick Show.
Hi.
Good. I was going to say good evening. It could be morning.
Good morning, good afternoon.
Good day.
Testing. Good day. I'm not Benji.
And I'm not Nick, but this is the Benji and Nick Show.
Yeah.
And if you are listening wherever you are in the world, then welcome. Welcome to our happy, safe little space to talk all things everything.
Everything? Well, mainly sort of cult TV, really.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean,
we're not going to be discussing climate change.
No, probably not. Mate, we could discuss combine harvesters or perhaps Morris dancing. No, we'll save that one for the May
There's
podcast.
Too much climate. May podcast. And this is a weekly podcast. Very weekly. Yeah, it's very weekly.
Very weekly and very regular, I think. A nice, regular podcast.
That sounds like some kind of medical description. I'll go no further. Just so you know, you've probably seen it written on the artwork. We're discussing Thunderbirds due to popular demand. But not quite yet. A few things to do before that.
Absolutely. So the first thing is a reminder that the Benji and Nick Show is sponsored by the Jerry Anderson store. So remember, folks, that if... every time. So remember that if you order anything from the Jerry Anderson store, you can use a special code, and the code is destroy, and that's in capitals, and it's got no spaces between the destroys. So it's like one big long word, destroy. And you can get yourself some free shipping. So
free shipping.
Yeah, which does make a big difference. It's one of those things you don't notice. It's like the classic illusion of when you're buying things online and you're like, oh, it's only that price. Then you click add to basket and it whacks on some shipping. Well, not anymore because you got the code. You can just indulge.
And some of you have been doing it. Which is why the Jerry Anderson store is continuing to
brilliant. Well, that's
sponsor us. But please do carry on, otherwise they will stop. You've got to help us here, folks.
Yeah, guys, get involved.
Yeah. Or not, if you don't like us, fair enough. I mean, after last week's discussion of the changes, where I had a right cob on, didn't I? As people say, I was having a right moan. By the way, as we mentioned, we'll be discussing Thunderbirds this week, but the episode we're going to discuss is Attack of the Alligators. So no need to delve into any other Jerry Anderson memories. Although, Benji, can you tell us about what's on offer at the Jerry Anderson store?
Certainly can.
What's the URL? Was it Jerry Anderson?
shop.jerryanderson.co.uk.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Let's have a little peeky woo as to
there's some those figures, aren't there, of Scott and Virgil Tracy.
Now, these are by a company called Big Chief Studios, which are a respected company, certainly in the last few years, for making really wonderful scale models. And they've actually, especially with these Thunderbirds figurines, they've created something absolutely gorgeous. They're just so well made. They look gorgeous on a shelf. They're scale models. They're honestly, it's... You have to kind of see them to believe how good they look. So you can get those, and they're out, and I think, well, you can't. But if I ordered within the next 44 minutes, it'll be there tomorrow. But that's no use to any of you right now because this won't even be out on the same day. But so there's only 1,000 of these figures as well. So I suppose technically then there's 2,000 of the figures because they're two different figures, 1,000 of each.
I see what you're saying there.
30 points of articulation. Apparently it says here, the most accurate character replica ever produced. So there we go. Get involved, guys, because, when they go...
There's a great video about that this morning on Twitter I saw, from the Jerry Anderson store as well.
And apparently as well, if you get it... I believe it comes with lots of other stuff as well. It comes with, so you get the figure, you get International Rescue jersey, the trousers, the sash, the classic sash, belt and holster. You get the boots with realistic leather.
This is all for the figure, not for you.
Yeah, not for you, for the figure, but it's still interesting. You get pistols, stun gas, needle darts, and a little display case. Rock and roll.
Lovely. Lovely. Ooh, that's good, isn't it?
I thoroughly enjoyed talking about that. I have to be honest. It was really getting into that. I love stuff like that.
That's great. So yeah, go and have a look at the Jerry Anderson store, and and get some free shipping with destroy as your special code. Highly recommended. Yeah.
So, whilst we're on the topic of all things Jerry Anderson, we've been running a competition for you to win a Blu-ray of the fully restored and remastered first series of Space 1999. And the question was, who did Roy Dotrice play in Space 1999?
And the answer was Commissioner Simmons. He... I'm slightly obsessed with the character because he's in the first episode, and then no one seems to know what the order of the episodes of Space 1999 should be. So what's the second episode? And certainly the one that sort of people think is the second episode doesn't have Commissioner Simmons in it. And then there is an episode where he gets, they get rid of him basically. Not to spoil the story, but gets trapped on a spaceship going to Earth. Oh, shit.
Ruined it for everyone.
Ruined it. Sorry. And so clearly that has to be the second episode, doesn't it?
The best thing I would say in that situation is that this is the type of thing the internet was invented for, was for people that care about things like that to sit and work it out. And there probably is. You will find there'll be somebody out there who's made a timeline to show exactly the order in which the episodes go in. So maybe that's something to look at.
Good luck to them with Space 1999, because I would say it's almost unfathomable.
Well, maybe that's your calling, Nick. Perhaps you're the person to do the job.
No, I think that it was made to be syndicated. So it was made so that it could be shown in any order, as long as you showed the first episode first, the rest of it. It's each episode sets the reset button at the end of the episode. No matter what terrible things have happened, it's all back to normal, and you know what I mean. Like there's no one missing.
I like things like that. It takes the pressure off.
No one's had their leg blown off or anything.
Why has he got no legs this week?
He's grown it back again. What's going on?
He's marvellous, that guy. He's got a real special power.
And the winner is that Benji is going to illustrate the winner in the form of reading out an email.
Yes, I'm not going to illustrate. I'm not going to draw the winner. I don't know what the winner looks like.
Could you please draw the winner?
Yes, give me 2 weeks and a supply of biscuits and I'll do it. Right, so here's the email. Hi, chaps. In answer to your competition question, Roy Dotrice played Commissioner Gerald Simmons in Space 1999.
I love the fact that he knows his name.
He knows
Gerald, his first name, I mean. Yeah.
So perhaps he made the timeline for us. Who knows? I know this because I watched my VHS copies of Space 1999 to destruction, hence being so desperate to win this competition. 2 exclamation marks. Thanks, Lance Harrington. Congratulations, Lance.
Lance, yeah. Now, well, if he did watch his VHSs to destruction in the Jerry Anderson tradition, they would have exploded
with the great stop.
Everything that is remotely damaged in a Jerry Anderson series actually explodes and catches fire. If someone just dropped their toast over breakfast,
loads of
they'd
debris.
Have to call international rescue. Yes.
Hello, is that international rescue? I'm afraid my toast is exploded on the floor.
Virgil, this is one for Thunderbird 4.
Thunderbird 4.
It's fallen into the sink, you see, the toast, so they have to go underwater to get it. Father, I can't quite find it. It's take out the plug hole.
Right. Take out the plug. Drain it.
There's a giant alligator. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So, Lance, you didn't send us your postal address, probably because we didn't ask you to, but, I would have thought common sense would have dictated. But, I should take a bit of sensible advice and not criticise the common sense of our listeners. We'll email you to find out. Or if you hear this, Lance, please email us at podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. I must apologise. Apparently, my friend, not apparently, she absolutely did say this, Fatima, wrote to me on Facebook to say that I apparently gave the address for this podcast as podcast@bigfinish.com, not podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. I must have had, and neither of us noticed, so I'm really sorry about that, if indeed that happened. I'm sure it did happen. I can't be bothered to go back and listen. I mean, I had podcast@nicholasbriggs.com written in front of me, but that never stops me reading out the wrong thing.
Happens to us all. It's easily done.
Yeah, I mean, I recently did the talking book, audio book of The Day of the Doctor.
Yes,
and
you
I
did
a lot of reading out of the wrong thing. I didn't know I could announce that, and then Michael Stevens, the editor of The Range, just happened to mention it on Facebook. I said, "Is that the announcement then?" And he said, "Well, what do you think we are, Big Finish?" So yeah, that's the announcement, me mentioning it on Facebook.
I'm just imagining you now there going, and a fez fell through that little time vortex and landed in front of the Doctor. He picked it up and said, podcast@bigfinish.com. No, God, no, I've got it wrong. Sorry. Just constant.
I'm a terrible one for saying what I think I've read rather than what I've actually read. I'm clearly a very unreliable witness.
But if you're in the flow, you're in the flow, aren't you? That's the thing.
Exactly. I know.
I once read out a whole Enid Blyton story when I was actually meant to be reading the dictionary. So it happens to us all, you just don't know. So there we go. Emails in to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com, not the Big Finish one. And so before we start our chat on Attack of the Alligators from Thunderbirds, just time for a few emails. And remember that you can send us an email at podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. That's podcast@nicholasbriggs.com.
First up, this from lovely Big Al, or Alex Pass as humans know him. Subject line, Thunderbirds. Hello, Benji and Nick. Just one N there. Nick. Loving the podcast and looking forward to your Thunderbirds edition, which is this edition with Attack of the Alligators. For me, the great thing about Thunderbirds is how well the music and visuals go together. Some of the show's most iconic moments are all down to this wonderful mix. My personal fave has to be from End of the Road, where a truck teeters on a cliff edge and is held up by Thunderbird 1 as Thunderbird 2 lifts it away. Epic! Also worthy of mention is the fantastic Shane Rimmer, yes, a.k.a. Scott Tracy. Scott Tracy! That way of speaking, didn't he? Scott Tracy. Father, we can't make it. Who manages some of 60s television's most brilliant acting, even in the persona of a puppet. Thunderbird 2's crash dive in the episode Terror in New York City must be one of the most nerve-wracking moments of Supermarionation ever. Pull up, Virgil! Pull up! And so he just adjusts his trousers. P.S. I can't recall ever watching The Changes, but did check out a trailer and was amused to see Bernard Horsfall attack a television set. That's right. He played Vicky's dad. Oh, Nicky. Was it Nicky or Vicky?
Nicky. Vicky's the real one and Nicky's the pretend one.
Yes. Well, he attacks the television set. Yeah, Chancellor Goth goes mad and attacks the television. Maybe he was annoyed at them for nabbing footage from Quatermass and the Pit film. That's true. There is footage from the Quatermass and the Pit.
There is the crane, isn't it?
Yeah, and also buildings blowing up and stuff, yeah. PPS, maybe Big Finish could do their own version, just imagine. What of The Changes? Well, yeah, we could, couldn't we?
It would be good.
Or maybe I could at Red Ray Gun Limited.
Oh, that's exciting.
Anyway, Big Al, sent from the Royal Albert Hall as I wait for Zakk Wylde and the Black Label Society to hit the stage.
Roll.
Bang, ouch, ha-ha. Do you know what Zakk Wylde and the Black Label
very,
is?
very good. Zakk Wylde, very, very good guitarist. Black Label Society, great band. So you're in for a treat when it comes for that gig. Rocking right at the Royal Albert Hall as well.
Wow, fancy emailing from the Royal Albert Hall.
It's pretty damn. I mean, well,
I feel sort of privileged.
That's it. There's a sort of level of class there, isn't it? Do you know, Nick? I saw a gig that's right up our Strasse. Gary Newman with an orchestra. How cool is that?
Wow.
Yeah. I thought that's a
No
pretty...
synthesizers at all?
Synthesizers and orchestral things, I believe. Wow. Yeah, that's old Gaza. There we go. So, who knows? So next up then, this one from Jim Murrell. Is it Morrell? Who knows? I'm going to go with Jim Murrell.
I like Morrell myself.
Morrell has a nice sort of... Jim Morrell. Could be in Thunderbirds.
Voiced by Shane Rimmer.
Oh.
Jim Morrell!
Jim Morrell! Quickly!
Pull up, Jim! Pull up! Your trousers are falling down!
And this one has the subject line of Thunderbirds. Hi, Benji and Neck. The funny thing is, a lot of people seem to call me Benji as a sort of comical nickname. Particularly like Neck, actually.
Neck.
Benji and Neck. It actually sounds a bit Australian, doesn't it? Hi there, Benji and Nick.
It's anyway. more New Zealand, I think.
Yeah,
Benji
very much.
And
Nick. I can't let a discussion about Thunderbirds pass without commenting on my total love for Barry Gray's music. Get a lot of love for old Barry Gray today. Well, I'm saving my comments because it makes great banter for the old analysis. I still think the Fire Flash landing is one of the most exciting action sequences I have ever seen, and that is largely to do with the music that accompanies it. Also, that wonderful scene when the Sidewinder comes crashing through the trees and the ominous music that captures its scale and unstoppability. Oh, it's so good. He knows it. I've also got to love the depiction of Cockney criminals with cigarette butts stuck in their bottom lip at all times. Absolutely.
Well, like Parker, when Parker says, "Light fingered Fred's out."
Oh my day. So this is a series that I could rewatch endlessly as a child, and now the box set sits waiting on the shelf for me to revisit. Great stuff.
Get in.
From Jim Morrell. Sent from my iPad. FAB.
And finally, this one from Carl Bate. Subject line, very contentious. ITV v BBC. Benji and Nick, a very interesting debate about the changes and whether the Beeb did their audience justice with their output. I wasn't quite saying that. I think this has been, I'd like to, I don't want to be controversial. There are probably some very obvious reasons why this was contrived. I have to agree in the main that ITV did have the lion's share of quality children's drama, and I think in the main, due to the fact that what Nick touched on, some words there. ITV stuff was written by writers who wrote for the viewing audience regardless of age. I think the BBC had a much more condescending approach to children's TV. They were still in the belief that children should be told of opinion and not to allow them to have one. And this was largely due to its hierarchy by those in control, whom I have thought were not of a generation that understood what children's TV should represent. In its defence, however, I suppose Doctor Who broke that barrier as it transcended the adult children viewing time in the schedule. Also, one-off drama specials like Box of Delight, which I've always wondered why no one has had a go at reworking it. The stage play last year I saw with Matthew Kelly was stunning. Others, such as Narnia, C.S. Lewis catalogue, and The Thing Called It, I think it was called. Again, these highlight the fact that they were based on pre-established successful classic writing or production. Other TV programmes that I have also found among the tidal wave of stuff now I've started to dig are Zodiac. Yeah, cool. I've got that on DVD. That's really weird, that. The Frighteners. I don't know The Frighteners.
The Frighteners. Do you know what? This goes back, was it a year ago, a year or two ago? I saw the trailer for The Frighteners and I sent it to you. I've never seen it myself, but the trailer came up and I actually sent it to you, Nick, I think in an email somewhere. Oh. And we both kind of said, well, this is slightly strange.
Yeah. That was the extent of our analysis. This is slightly strange.
It really out there. I think it was what I was thinking of, The Frighteners. I think it was really like it was quite out there. No, well, it's definitely not the movie. I'm talking, it's a TV series.
No, there was a movie. And Undermined, a US based but had that transatlantic feel. I don't know Undermined either. As well as The Shadows. I don't think he means the band.
Just going into music now.
Shadows. I seem to remember that. Wasn't that an anthology ITV kids spooky series? Cheer up, Nick. It sounded like you'd been a victim of the changes once again. Though a cracking podcast. I think I was a bit down. I was a bit ill, to be quite honest, Carl. Thank you very much, Carl, anyway. Did you find the Frighteners?
Do you know what? I can't seem to find it anywhere, despite the fact that I'm sure it's I'm sure network do it. This is going to annoy me now for the rest of the day, unless I
must find out.
Yeah,
must
network
find
trailer.
out.
Here we go. Yeah, was it? No, it was not the thing that I sent at all, actually. But it does look quite good. It's got John Thor in it, so it's going to be great, isn't it?
Oh, when was it made? Do you know?
The Frighteners. Let's have a look. Order now. Bibbidi bobbidi boo. Oh, this is strange. So the link doesn't work on. So I wonder if it's like they no longer have a. Oh no, they do. Here we go. Is that who I think it is on the cover? Bird of night, hoot not.
Is it really?
Jeffrey Bailden, I believe, is on the. At least it looks like Jeffrey Bailden. It was made. Number of discs, 2 pictures, sound, region, minutes. It just doesn't say when it was made, apparently.
Wiki it.
TV. This is just going too far now, but I want to know. 1972. 1972. There we go. Did it have Jeffrey Bailden in it? Or was that? Yes, it did. He plays a character called The Man.
The Man, eh? Wow, very typecasting again, playing a man.
But there we go. No, that's one to check out, isn't it? Rock and roll. But yeah, please do keep those emails coming in. We do love them. I love them. I love an email, as everybody should know by now. And remember, the address is podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. That's podcast@nicholasbriggs.com.
Right now, on to our topic of delight. Thunderbirds, Attack of the Alligators. I missed off the exclamation mark. There is definitely an exclamation
100%
mark.
an exclamation mark in there. Just really
So,
conveying the point.
I think a lot of the Thunderbirds titles had exclamation marks.
Well, the thing is,
Yeah.
it makes you, it gets your attention, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. Well, I think that's the thing with a lot of Jerry Anderson productions. I think they were all made with exclamation marks, weren't they? You know, as I mentioned, the. So, Attack of the Alligators is basically the everyday story of a scientist who comes up with a rather horrible, dark, browny, green-looking substance.
Murky, yeah. Something you wouldn't want to drink.
I've invented something that looks like poo water.
The bog.
I've just got this out of the bog. But what it does, if you give it to animals, they get bigger. And so obviously it will mean that, rather like Axonite in Doctor Who, it will mean that you can have bigger food animals. And of course, they very sensibly demonstrate this by having big rabbits. I don't know why they did. I suppose they thought we can have rabbits in a studio. We can't do cows. That'll just be an enormous cow, a real life-size cow with
cow
puppets,
the size of a city.
It would look like a brontosaurus, wouldn't it, next to one of those puppets?
But
the Thunderbirds puppets are about the height of, from your foot to your knee. That's about the size of a Thunderbird puppet. Yes. So, and an unscrupulous, villainous foreign type, because you notice that generally in 60s and 70s television and 50s, anyone who's a bit dubious can't be English or American. They have to speak with a strange accent of, you cannot tell where. You don't know where they are from, but they are not English or American, so they must be villains and slightly sinister. It's just what we call embedded racism. So one of these chaps whose job is mainly to ferry people through the swamp where this scientist lives for some reason. I don't know why he couldn't work in a research centre in a perfectly nice city.
Just near the airport.
Yeah.
Imagine that every day. Oh, better go down the swamp. What if you left your watch the other side of the swamp? That's a day gone, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this scientist lives in this house with a rather sinister housekeeper. Who sort of stands by windows when thunderclaps and lightning happen.
I was for a while. I thought she's was it Mrs. Files? I think her name is on it or something. But for a while I thought, she's got to be embroiled in this. She looks evil. Everything about her is evil. But no, actually she was a good egg, a strange egg, but a good egg nevertheless.
Yeah. And it's Sylvia Anderson, clearly doing the voice. It sounds like Lady Penelope putting on a silly accent. Anyway, yes, this chap decides to steal this invention and sell it. And in doing so, he accidentally he pours some of it into a test tube, but then he drops the rest into the sink, which goes down into the swamp, and the alligators in the swamp get big.
And
that's the story.
Before you know it, it's chaos. Absolute chaos. Gigantic alligators destroying everything. I suppose the first thing to touch on with this, because I think this is what makes this episode so brilliant, is sound like Alan, how well trained the alligators are. No, it's the wonderful use of real alligators in this that make it so brilliant, and the fact that they somehow perform wonderfully, don't they? They actually, you never have that. Like a lot of the time when you have animals and things, you think he just wants to go over there. He just wants to. He's not interested in that. He wants to go and eat the food that's off the set somewhere. But the alligators do a great job at actually being quite sinister in this.
Well, I would say we haven't seen the outtakes.
True. I can imagine.
And there are stories, aren't there, from behind the scenes about people saying that it got a bit dangerous occasionally, because they were on set with these alligators. They're not fully grown alligators, are they? But they're sort of still capable of taking a chunk out of you, I would imagine. Well,
they certainly looked vicious, and I mean, whether that's the way that it was, put together and directed, but they look frightening. I mean, personally, I wouldn't. I've watched Live and Let Die, and I certainly don't want to be stranded anywhere with an alligator.
Yeah. Of course, there's that famous stunt in Live and Let Die where the stuntman ran over the backs of all the alligators.
Class.
And they said, "Could you do it again?" And he went, "No." Because you can see them snapping at him as he runs across them. It's meant to be James Bond, of course, doing it.
I'm
but
sure
Roger
there's
Moore
one
famously
that
always had a stand-in for running because he couldn't run his running didn't look butch enough, apparently.
Good old Roger Moore.
Probably like my running.
But this isn't the Bond podcast, but it should be. We should do one on Bond one day.
Should, yeah.
But no, I really like this episode because I think it kind of is a great use of something which could have looked awful, if that makes sense. It could have gone the complete other way and looked like a sort of episode of Tales of the Riverbank gone wrong. But,
yes.
But what you get is a very, I mean, obviously with these types of shows, with anything model based, it's gorgeous, and you will never find anything that looks better than this. I think it's just beautiful. The swamp and the jungle around is just especially watching it on Blu-ray and seeing it in such high quality. There's always the worry when things are upscale, when things are at such a quality, but were made so long ago. You always worry that things might not look as good as how you remember them, but my God, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I completely agree that the detail of the setting is superb, and the griminess. And they also do a clever thing with the alligators, which is that when the alligators are meant to be just normal size, they don't overcrank the camera and they just let them move in normal motion. But once they're meant to be big, they really overcrank it, and so they have a slow motion aspect. So you suddenly think they're gigantic when they're whacking the house with their tails.
Frightening, though.
Yeah.
And off going for it, that's for sure. Well, obviously, all the sound effects.
Yeah. And also the way, once they get big, the alligators start going...
Yeah.
And, really...
I love that. Can you imagine?
I could see that quite deafened you when I did that, didn't it?
It's terrified me. I got flashbacks to yeah. It can't be very nice to be stuck in a house surrounded by gigantic alligators.
I think that's the most profound thing you've ever said.
Well, I'm full of many. It's often struck my mind, that one. That's a deep, burnt deep into my psyche. But of course, the geezer, I think his name's Culp. Is it? Is he the strange villainous guy with the hat?
Yes.
He's an idiot, isn't he? What a stupid guy. He's like, he has the gun and he's saying nobody move, and all that business. Like, what? And he wants a safe escort out. You think to yourself, You're in a house surrounded by gigantic alligators. It's his fault. You're not going to get out of this one. You should know that, really.
To be fair to him, when he makes his final dash, after having been knocked into the water and been presumed to have been eaten by an alligator, he miraculously appears from behind the bookshelf. He knows secret passageways. He thinks all the alligators have been disabled by the Thunderbird team, but there's one left.
Surely you can hear it making all that bloody racket.
No, it's under the water, isn't it? They have a model alligator that goes under the water with its legs tucked back, which they just. Yeah.
I do like it though. Zips along.
It's like a submarine, isn't it? It's an alligator-shaped submarine, basically. Yeah. So he does come a cropper eventually,
as all good villains do.
I mean, I just wanted to mention that every time the alligators hit something with their tail, it doesn't just break, it explodes, because this is Thunderbirds. And also, when they're whacking the side of the building and all this debris is falling in the laboratory inside, and there are all these, flasks and conical flasks and things, all falling to the ground. As each one falls to the ground, as each piece of equipment falls onto the table, there's an explosion. And you think that mad professor, he was risking life and limb every day, because if he dropped anything in that laboratory, it would have literally blown his leg off. He's just
it's a hard
constantly
job.
Everything in that laboratory was explosive. I mean, I imagine his tea, if he accidentally spilt some tea, it would burn through the table and then explode,
I'd love to see that. Can you imagine? He just every day must be treading on eggshells.
But they'd explode as well. We've got explosive eggshells here.
Call it. What's that the woman go? International rescue. Call international rescue. It's like,
yeah, she knows all about it, doesn't she?
No
one else thinks of it.
In that lab, they have to do it every day. They've probably got a hotline. The eggshells have exploded. International rescue. I love the bit when she's...
Hold on a minute. Is that Lady Penelope putting on a voice?
No.
No, it is someone else.
I'm exotic.
Lady Penelope. Oh, come on, Penny. We can tell it's you. No, don't be stupid.
Oh my days! It's great.
They only had about 5 voice artists, didn't they? Yeah. But of course, when I was a kid, it never occurred to me that Brains and Brains and Gordon were the same voice.
You don't think about it unless you know. I think. Because I think that is one of the huge selling points for me with Thunderbirds, is that the voice acting is very good, but also that there is a variety of which is essentially quite a small pool of people doing a wide variety of voices. You never think, that's so. Well, maybe you do if you're a super fan, but I certainly never sit there and think, that's so and so. You just don't think. I don't really think about it.
It took me years to work it out. Actually, yeah, I was just completely accepting of it all.
I think accepting is a really good word to kind of describe Thunderbirds and how you approach it. And really, what sells Thunderbirds is the fact that you're watching something that's essentially completely surreal. It's Supermarionation. These are models, but puppets, yeah, puppets and models, and of course. Your brain and your mind, you just accept what you're seeing, and that's what I think is so brilliant about it. You don't question it. You don't sit there. Obviously, sometimes if you see a human hand for those wonderful close-up scenes, you smile, but you never. I certainly don't. I don't look at it and ever think, that's that. You believe, and it's so wonderful, and there's a magic there which I think everybody can feel.
What are your thoughts on the strings of the marionettes?
I never really think about it. I think if they're really noticeable, I might acknowledge it, but I don't look for them. I never really think about it. Funnily enough, my earliest memory of Thunderbirds was seeing some rubbish Blue Peter thing of somebody had made some Thunderbirds out of toilet rolls, and they had these big visible strings that they were doing it. And so for years in my mind I thought, that must have been the early Thunderbirds, of course, because I was young. But that was the only time I thought, this looks like a puppet on the string. But don't think about it at all. How about yourself?
Well, yes, I think that certainly when I was a kid, you'd forget about it quite quickly, and even now watching Thunderbirds again, you do after a while forget about it. But I would like to say that the remarkable thing watching this episode, and it's interesting, the reason we decided on this episode is because I happen to have it on my DVD machine hard drive, and it was part of a BBC Two Jerry Anderson Thunderbirds evening, and they showed it as a representative episode. But in a way, it's a standout, different episode, isn't it? Because it's got a monster in it, unlike any of the other episodes. Anyway, back to the strings. Watching it, I was astounded at the number of times you couldn't see the marionette strings, because I know they spent a lot of time, working with focus, so something small is slightly out of focus, and also painting the strings to fit in with the background. And there are many, I would say 50% of the scenes with the marionettes, you just can't see the string.
Absolutely.
I mean, on the close-ups, they're focused there on the face, on the head. You can't disguise the fact that, from the head are coming these strings. That was a very strange grammatical construction. From the head are coming these strings. I sound like a Thunderbirds villain.
There you go. The stringsmith. Her name is Alistair Stringsmith. From the head comes the strings.
But my son, for example, he did say, you can see the strings. And he's seen Thunderbirds before. And I said, yeah, you can sometimes. But he really enjoyed seeing the alligators. By the way, he did want to mention, he heard me giving a summation of his view of the changes last time. And he wanted to disagree with that because he said, I did like it. I wasn't bored. I said, really? And he said, well, this is how I liked it, Daddy. He said, I liked it that if it was the only thing on and there was nothing else to watch, I would really like it. I thought, right, but since there are other things to watch, you don't like it? Yes, that's right. Okay, But because I explained to him how there were only like 3 and then 4 TV channels, which he finds inconceivable. Although most of what he watches is on YouTube anyway, so he doesn't really have a concept of television
I suppose it
happening. He thinks you can pause everything and rewind everything, But, no. But anyway, there you are. That was the discussion of the strings.
I think as well with the strings, just quickly.
Yes.
Another thing about this episode is the fact that it's lit really well. The setting really lends itself to actually camouflaging the strings, in the sense it's wonderfully lit to sort of deep colours and greens and browns, and it's very dark, and it works in the strings' favour, I think.
Well, and also, you see, what you bring up there, actually, the thing that is often spoken about Thunderbirds and why it's endured and is so successful and so loved, and in common with most of the Jerry Anderson stuff, if not all of it, is that it's made with the sensibility and the grammar of a movie.
Definitely.
They feel like small movies, don't they? It doesn't feel like television. It's shot on 35mm film, and it's so it can be released in high definition and looks pretty blooming good. So I'm told by you. I haven't seen it in high def. Even though they're dealing with little models and little puppets, they give it the full Hollywood treatment, don't they?
It takes itself seriously.
Is big and dramatic, and I think that is the charm of it, really.
Well, you don't feel let's put it this way: you don't get the going back to the email. It doesn't insult your intelligence at all. It doesn't patronise you. It does the opposite. Actually, it's saying, for a kid, I think it's saying, we're going to give you something which is involved, it's exciting, it's tense, and it's real, and you feel it's authoritative. You trust the characters, you believe in them. You think, international, they'll think of a solution. They'll sort. Because I was there thinking, how are you going to deal with these? You're going to try and shrink them back. I thought that's a bit sensational.
No, shoot them.
Just shoot them. Go for it. I thought, yeah, fair play.
Yes, I mean, do they ever get shrunk back? Because they only tranquilise them, don't they?
Yes, they. I mean,
so what happens when they come round again?
They're put in a zoo, and somebody's making a good bit of money.
That would be another episode called Big Zoo with an exclamation mark.
Big Zoo. It's basically
Like
perhaps this is the prequel to Jurassic Park that just nobody has acknowledged.
Alligator Park. Yeah.
You know, maybe that's it. But we're talking about big, and we're talking about action. We have to talk about the music.
Yes.
I think, because it is the glue. I would say the glue in this is the wonderful score, which just
by Barry Gray, isn't it? Yeah.
Barry Gray, who going back a podcast or two, also did the music for Doctor Who and the Daleks.
He contributed. To it.
Yes, you're right.
He did some of the electronic stuff. Yes,
he did. Yeah, all the lovely.
Yeah. Did he do all that? I thought he just did the electronic music.
I think he did. Hold on.
All the sort of weird bits.
The weird bits. Barry Gray.
Weird.
Doctor Who and the Daleks. Electronic effects by Barry Gray. Yeah, no, you are right.
I mean, we don't really know exactly what he did for it, do we?
No.
Maybe someone could let us know.
Yeah, anyway. But the music is thrilling.
He did loads of the Jerry Anderson stuff, didn't he? I mean, I think, didn't he do all of it?
Pretty much.
All of the classic stuff. He certainly did. Stingray, Supercar, Fireball XL5, Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet, Joe 90, UFO, Space 1999, the first series of Space 1999. And a lot of his cues from different series, I'm sure, end up in other series. Or he does similar cues.
I think that is the key, the similar style cue, undoubtedly.
Do we think that there's any new music in Attack of the Alligators, or is it all his stock music?
I would say there's like you would work in suites, maybe. Like the excitement, tension, evil. There might be. I would imagine that a lot of it is stock, because
yes, I don't think there's any new music in this episode. I think it's entirely used. He's edited it from stock music.
I wouldn't be surprised. But it doesn't matter. I want
people to write in and tell. Oh no, it doesn't matter at all. But I wonder if anyone knows for certain.
It'd be interesting. There must be people, but yeah, write in. That would be great. I feel a great connection with the Barry Gray stuff because I did the music for the Big Finish Captain Scarlet new box sets that we did, where we had some brand new novel adaptations, and so I had to really.
What were they called? The Spectrum.
The Spectrum Files. That was it.
The Spectrum Files.
And so I had to sit and kind of study the Barry Gray stuff and kind of dissect what he does and how he does it. And by no means do I don't think it's possible to achieve what he does through modern computer sound. Despite the fact that you can have some of the finest electronic versions of orchestral things, because there's such a level of what he injects is this. You can't capture the excitement, the style that he's got, the strings that is so of its time, and it's so. I really believe, like John Barry, that this is. Barry Gray, they're both Barrys. It's music that is so ahead of its time, and you can't replicate it. It is what it is. It's its own kind of genre in a way.
Yeah, I agree. It's beautiful,
and it takes itself seriously. When you've got Thunderbirds, if you've got something, if Thunderbird, if one of the Thunderbirds is crashing or somebody's dying, there's a chase on, whatever you're watching, the music is not patronising. It's real. It's saying this is dangerous, and you believe it. You sit back. Yep, I'm on the edge of my seat for this one.
Well, so we're giving a huge thumbs up to Thunderbirds' Attack of the Alligators! Exclamation mark.
Absolutely, like 10 exclamation marks out of 10. I think. Well, this could be quite a nice little grading system.
Yeah. So, what are we going to look at next time?
I don't know. This is it. Have you got any ideas? What would you like to?
Well, I don't know. I'm just going to go and check because I'm sure I bought Zodiac. Where could it be here? Have you seen Zodiac?
I've not, but I can order it in. I'd quite like to order something in. And get it in for next day delivery.
Oh yeah, I have looked.
Zodiac.
Yeah, the cover looks like it's a sort of sapphire and steel thing. It stars Anton Rogers and Anushka Hempel. And it's a sort of crime thriller. Astrology is strictly for the birds. That's the emphatic view of David Gradley, a work-shy ex-Harrovian who has drifted into the police force. Then he meets the pretty young astrologer Esther Jones, and his ideas get knocked for 6. Created by Roger Marshall, The Avengers, Public Eye, The Sweeney, this light-hearted thriller series became a cult piece of escapism for viewers during its 6-week stay on British television and has become a much sought-after series by collectors.
Well, I'll order that one in and we'll discuss Zodiac next week then.
I did watch an episode of it a while ago, and I'm warning you, it didn't, set me afire. But I think it's an interesting curiosity, and it was mentioned in one of the emails earlier today. So let's do Zodiac next time, starring Anton Rogers and Anushka Hempel, who used to appear on a lot of panel shows in the 70s. Not sure why.
Just love them.
Yeah. Well, she was very, very beautiful.
She's very recognisable. She's one of those faces. She's been in a lot of different things.
What's she famous for? Because I don't think anyone was famous for this series. I mean, Anton Rogers was very, very famous and in everything, but...
let's have a look.
Have you looked her up?
I've just got her up now. Yeah, she's one of those faces. Oh, of course. I was thinking she's not a Bond girl, but she is a Bond girl. That is where I recognise her from. Yeah, she was in on Her Majesty's Secret Service, where she played one of the girls in the chateau.
Well, so did Joanna Lumley.
She did indeed. Yes, you're completely correct.
There were a lot of girls in that chateau.
It was. Well, he landed on his feet. He had, old Bond. Didn't he there?
Funny that never normally happens. All right, well, yeah, we'll do Zodiac. I feel like I'm condemning myself to some appallingness there, but let's not prejudge it, eh?
Yeah, who knows? It could be a Thunderbirds level of love. We could be on the changes. Who knows? Let's see how many exclamation marks out of 10 we can give it next week.
Indeed.
So on that wonderful note, we bid you farewell from the Benji and Nick Show.
Yeah,
goodbye.
I enjoy talking like this at the end of the podcast.
So do I. It's like putting on an old pair of shoes. You feel at ease.
Yes, and as Benji said, goodbye.